The Stoic Path to Authenticity, Living Your Values. Stoicism, a philosophy that flourished in ancient Greece and Rome, offers a timeless and practical guide for navigating the complexities of modern life. Contrary to popular misconception, it is not about suppressing emotions or becoming apathetic. Rather, it's a powerful framework for cultivating emotional resilience, mental clarity, and inner peace. The core of Stoicism lies in the profound belief that true authenticity and fulfillment are not found in external possessions or fleeting pleasures, but in living a life that is in complete alignment with our deepest values. This philosophy provides a roadmap for building an unshakable character and finding purpose from within, independent of external circumstances. The journey begins with a radical shift in perspective, the realization that we have far more power over our inner world than our external reality. While we cannot control the weather, the economy, or the actions of other people, we have absolute dominion over our own thoughts, judgments, and intentions. This foundational principle, known as the dichotomy of control, serves as the starting point for all Stoic practice. By consistently directing our energy toward what we can influence and accepting what we cannot, we free ourselves from a tremendous amount of anxiety, frustration, and suffering. This newfound freedom allows us to focus on the one thing the Stoics believe to be the sole good, virtue. They defined virtue not as a rigid set of rules, but as the consistent pursuit of excellence in character. The four cardinal virtues, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, serve as a moral compass. Living authentically means asking ourselves in every situation, what is the wisest course of action? What is the most just response? What would be the courageous thing to do? And how can I act with self-control? These questions guide our choices, ensuring that our actions are rooted in integrity rather than impulsivity or external pressure. Stoicism encourages us to embrace a powerful yet humbling practice known as memento mori, or the contemplation of our own mortality. This isn't a morbid exercise in dwelling on death, but a powerful motivator for living a more purposeful and authentic life. By reminding ourselves that our time is finite, we gain clarity on what truly matters. We are less likely to waste our days on trivial pursuits, petty grievances, or the opinions of others. Instead, we are spurred to seize the day and live each moment with an awareness that it is a precious gift. The path also involves preparing for life's inevitable setbacks through premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This is not pessimism, it's a form of mental rehearsal. By imagining potential challenges, failures, or losses, we can better prepare our minds to handle them when they occur. This practice builds resilience, transforming potential shocks into manageable obstacles. When adversity strikes, we can respond with calm resolve, not emotional chaos, because we have already mentally prepared for it. It shifts our perspective from "why is this happening to me?" to "how can I handle this with virtue?" Authenticity, according to the Stoics, is not a solitary pursuit. The concept of sympathia highlights our fundamental interconnectedness with all of humanity and the universe. We are all part of a single, rational whole. True virtue requires acting for the common good and understanding that our own well-being is deeply intertwined with the well-being of others. This worldview encourages compassion, a sense of duty, and a commitment to justice, reminding us that we are not isolated individuals but members of a global community. Perhaps the most radical and transformative Stoic principle is amor fati, the love of one's fate. This isn't passive resignation, but an active, joyous embrace of everything that has happened and will happen to us. It means accepting our circumstances, both good and bad, as necessary for our growth and personal development. By loving our fate, we stop wishing things were different and instead find meaning and purpose in every experience, turning obstacles into opportunities and suffering into strength. A central tenet of Stoicism is the understanding that philosophy is not just an intellectual pursuit but a way of life. The path to authenticity is not about memorizing ancient texts, but about consistent action and daily practice. It's about applying these principles to our everyday lives, how we respond to a difficult colleague, how we handle a broken plan, or how we manage our own anger. Authenticity is forged through a relentless commitment to aligning our actions with our values, one small decision at a time. It is in the doing that we truly become. The Stoic path is a lifelong journey of self-mastery and continuous improvement. It provides us with a powerful toolkit to build a life of purpose, integrity, and genuine happiness. By cultivating an unshakable inner citadel, we can face external challenges with poise and grace. It is a philosophy that teaches us to find freedom not by controlling the world, but by controlling ourselves. It is a journey from living by default to living by design. In conclusion, Stoicism offers a profound and practical framework for living an authentic life. It challenges us to look inward, to build a fortress of character, and to find our true north not in the fleeting approval of others, but in the quiet confidence of our own integrity. It is a path that promises not an easy life, but a deeply meaningful one, a life lived on our own terms, grounded in virtue, and dedicated to becoming the best version of ourselves. The inner citadel. The Stoic journey to authenticity begins not with grand gestures or external achievements, but with a retreat inward. The Stoics, most notably Marcus Aurelius, referred to this as building our inner citadel, a metaphorical fortress of the mind. This isn't a call to isolation, but an exercise in mental resilience and self-possession. The first and most crucial step on the Stoic path is to understand and cultivate this inner sanctuary, making it a place of calm and rationality that is impervious to the storms of the external world. The modern world bombards us with stimuli, anxieties, and the expectations of others. We are constantly reacting to news headlines, social media notifications, and the opinions of our peers. This state of constant reaction leaves us vulnerable and emotionally depleted. The Stoics recognized this inherent danger thousands of years ago. They understood that if our happiness and sense of self-worth are dependent on external factors, what others think of us, how much money we have, or what's happening in the news, we are essentially handing over control of our lives to forces we cannot influence. The inner citadel is our defense against this vulnerability. It is a fortress built not with stone walls, but with our principles, our reason, and our character. Within its walls, we are the sovereign ruler. No one can dictate our thoughts, our judgments, or our values. This is where we hold the ultimate power. By focusing our energy on strengthening this inner space, we build a foundation that cannot be shaken by the chaos of the outside world. Cultivating this citadel requires constant vigilance and practice. It involves a daily habit of self-reflection and a commitment to recognizing the difference between what we can control and what we cannot. We must train ourselves to observe our thoughts without immediately identifying with them. When a negative emotion arises, anger, fear, or frustration, we don't deny it. Instead, we acknowledge it and then choose how to respond. This is the difference between being a slave to our emotions and being a master of our minds. Think of the citadel's walls as the boundary between our inner world and the outer world. The outer world is full of things we cannot control, natural disasters, other people's behavior, accidents, and misfortunes. The inner world, however, is where our true freedom resides. We can choose our response to every event. A difficult conversation, a professional setback, or a personal loss may affect us, but they cannot force us to be unhappy or resentful unless we allow them to. Our reaction is entirely within our control. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple truth is the cornerstone of building the inner citadel. The world will be full of challenges and injustices, but our peace of mind is not at the mercy of these events. It is a choice we make every single moment. We choose to remain calm, to think rationally, and to act in accordance with our values, regardless of what's happening around us. This practice is not about becoming a cold, emotionless robot. On the contrary, it is about developing an emotional intelligence that allows for feeling without being consumed. We can experience grief or joy deeply while still maintaining our inner equilibrium. The Stoics believe that by building this internal fortress, we create a space where emotions are understood and managed, not suppressed or left to run rampant. A key element in fortifying our citadel is the practice of premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of adversity. By mentally rehearsing potential challenges, we prepare our minds for what might come. This isn't a form of negative thinking, but a proactive strategy for resilience. When a bad event occurs, we are less shocked and better equipped to handle it with grace, because we have already considered the possibility. This exercise makes our inner fortress stronger and more prepared for any assault. Living authentically means living from the core of this inner citadel. It means that our actions and decisions are a direct reflection of our true selves, not a reaction to external pressures or performance for others. When our values are our guide and our inner peace is our priority, we are no longer swayed by the opinions of others or the whims of fortune. Our worth comes from who we are, not what we have or what others think of us. In essence, the Stoic path to authenticity is an act of reclaiming our autonomy. It is the conscious decision to take charge of our own minds and our own lives. By diligently building and maintaining our inner citadel, we secure our peace of mind and create a stable, reliable foundation from which to live a life of purpose and integrity. It is the starting point for a life that is truly our own, built from the inside out. The dichotomy of control. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies a powerful and simple truth: the dichotomy of control. This principle asserts that everything in the world can be divided into two distinct categories: things we can control and things we cannot. Understanding and internalizing this distinction is not merely an intellectual exercise, it is the fundamental key to achieving true serenity and effectiveness in life. Most of our anxiety and suffering stems from our persistent attempts to influence or change matters that are entirely outside of our control. The things within our control are our judgments, our opinions, our desires, our aversions, and in short, our own actions. The Stoics taught that this is our true domain of power. We are the masters of our own minds. We can choose how we think about a situation, what values we apply, and how we respond to what happens to us. This internal freedom is absolute and cannot be taken away by any external force. By focusing on cultivating a virtuous inner life, we secure our happiness and peace, making it immune to the whims of fate. On the other hand, the vast majority of things in the world fall into the category of things we cannot control. This includes the weather, the economy, other people's opinions of us, our reputation, our health in the long run, and the outcomes of our efforts. We can influence some of these things, but we cannot dictate their final result. For example, we can prepare diligently for a job interview, but we cannot control whether we get the job. Trying to do so only leads to frustration, stress, and a feeling of powerlessness. The essence of the dichotomy of control is a practice of radical acceptance. This does not mean passive resignation. It means accepting reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. When faced with a difficult situation, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" the Stoic asks, "What is within my power to do right now?" This shift in focus from wishing to acting is a source of immense power. It allows us to move from a state of victimhood to one of proactive responsibility. This principle is a practical tool for daily life. Consider the frustration of being stuck in a traffic jam. An untrained mind will curse the traffic, get angry at other drivers, and feel a surge of stress. This is a futile response, as the traffic is completely out of their control. The Stoic, however, would recognize this. They would accept the situation, focus on what they can control, their breathing, their patience, their choice of music, and use the unexpected free time for reflection or calm. In our relationships with others, the dichotomy of control is equally crucial. We often invest a great deal of energy trying to change or control our friends, family, or colleagues. We get upset when they don't meet our expectations or when their actions don't align with our desires. The Stoic perspective teaches us that we can only control our own actions and our own treatment of others. We can offer advice or support, but we cannot make someone change. When we truly understand this, we free ourselves from the emotional turmoil that comes with trying to manage others' lives. The practice of Stoicism involves regularly checking in with ourselves to identify when we are trying to control the uncontrollable. This self-awareness is the first step toward reclaiming our mental peace. We must learn to recognize when our thoughts are straying into the realm of things beyond our influence, for example, worrying about a future event that has not yet happened. By redirecting our mental energy back to our present judgments and actions, we live a more grounded and purposeful life. This framework also protects us from the emotional roller coaster of external validation. When we seek praise or approval from others, we are placing our happiness in their hands. The Stoic recognizes that external opinions are not within our control. By choosing to find our worth in our own virtue and integrity, we become self-sufficient. We are no longer tossed about by the changing winds of popularity or criticism, living authentically because we are guided by our own internal compass. While it may seem counterintuitive, embracing the things we cannot control actually makes us more effective in the world. By letting go of what we can't influence, we free up immense energy to focus on what we can. This allows us to put all our effort into making wise decisions, taking effective action, and treating others with respect. It is through this focused effort that we maximize our potential for positive impact, even if the ultimate outcome is not guaranteed. In conclusion, the dichotomy of control is more than just a philosophical concept, it is a practical blueprint for freedom. By consistently applying this principle, we learn to distinguish between what is ours to handle and what is not. This wisdom leads to a life of profound tranquility, where our happiness is not contingent on external events, but is a result of our own inner discipline. It is the core practice that empowers us to live authentically, in full command of our own minds and our own path. Virtue as the highest good. For the Stoics, the concept of virtue stands as the cornerstone of a meaningful and authentic life. In a world that often measures success by wealth, status, or power, the Stoic view is a radical departure. True well-being, or eudaimonia, is found not in external achievements but in the cultivation of an excellent character. They believe that virtue, defined as living in accordance with reason and nature, is the only thing that is truly good, and all other things are merely indifferent. This perspective shifts our entire focus from chasing external rewards to building an unshakable inner foundation. The four cardinal virtues, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, form the ethical blueprint for the Stoic life. They are not abstract ideals to be admired from afar, but practical tools to be applied in every moment. Wisdom, the first and most fundamental virtue, is the ability to make good judgments. It involves understanding what is truly good and bad, what is within our control and what is not, and how to navigate the complexities of life with clarity. This is the virtue that guides all others, ensuring our actions are not impulsive but thoughtful and rational. Justice is the virtue of treating all people fairly and with dignity. It goes beyond legal definitions and extends to our everyday interactions. For the Stoics, our role as rational social beings is to contribute to the well-being of the human community. Justice demands that we act with integrity, honor our commitments, and recognize the inherent worth of every individual. It is the understanding that our own good is inextricably linked to the good of others, and that an authentic life cannot be built at the expense of another's suffering. Courage, the third virtue, is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act rightly in the face of it. It is the moral strength to endure hardship, speak the truth, and stand by our principles, even when it is difficult or unpopular. Stoic courage is as much about facing our own inner demons, our anxieties, doubts, and aversions, as it is about confronting external threats. It is the bravery to live in accordance with our values, regardless of the consequences or the opinions of others. The final virtue, temperance, is about self-control and moderation. It is the ability to master our desires and aversions, ensuring they do not lead us astray. Temperance allows us to enjoy life's pleasures without becoming enslaved by them and to endure life's hardships without being overwhelmed. It is the virtue that brings balance to our lives, preventing us from overindulging in things that are ultimately harmful and helping us to find contentment in what we have. These virtues are not separate compartments, but are deeply interconnected. To act justly requires the wisdom to know what is right, the courage to do it, and the temperance to resist selfish urges. They are, in essence, different facets of a single coherent character. The Stoics believed that by striving for one virtue, we naturally develop the others. The pursuit of a virtuous life is a holistic effort to become a complete, well-rounded human being. The Stoic emphasis on virtue as the highest good is a powerful antidote to modern societal pressures. We are often told that happiness is a destination we reach after acquiring enough money, a certain job title, or a specific status. The Stoics would argue that this is a dangerous illusion. Chasing these external goods is a never-ending cycle, as they are inherently fragile and outside of our control. The moment they are gone, our happiness disappears with them. By contrast, virtue is an internal possession. No one can take away our wisdom, our courage, or our integrity. We possess them fully, regardless of our circumstances. A person can be poor and virtuous, sick and virtuous, or imprisoned and virtuous. This makes virtue an unshakable source of happiness and a reliable anchor in a turbulent world. Our authenticity comes from the quiet confidence that we are living a good life, not in the sense of a pleasurable one, but in the sense of a morally upright one. This framework is not an easy one to follow. It requires continuous self-reflection, honest self-assessment, and a willingness to confront our own flaws. It is a lifelong practice of aligning our actions with our deepest values. Every decision, from the smallest to the largest, becomes an opportunity to practice virtue. Did I respond with kindness and patience? Did I act with integrity? Did I do the right thing, even when it was hard? These are the questions that truly matter. In conclusion, the Stoic belief that virtue is the highest good is the very core of their path to authenticity. It offers a liberating truth, that our worth is not dependent on external validation but is forged from within. By dedicating ourselves to the cultivation of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, we build a character that is resilient, purposeful, and genuinely happy. It is a life lived on our own terms, with an internal compass that always points toward our true north, regardless of the storms we face. Memento mori, the reminder of mortality. The Stoic practice of memento mori, Latin for remember that you will die, is one of the most misunderstood yet profoundly liberating concepts in their philosophy. To the modern ear, it might sound morbid or depressing, a grim obsession with the end. However, for the Stoics, it was a vital tool for living a truly authentic and meaningful life. It's not about dwelling on death but using the awareness of our finite time to sharpen our focus, clarify our values, and motivate us to live fully and virtuously. The reason this practice is so powerful lies in its ability to provide perspective. In our daily lives, we often get bogged down by trivial worries and petty grievances. We might fret over a missed appointment, an unkind word from a colleague, or a minor financial setback. The contemplation of death instantly puts these small frustrations in their place. In the face of our own mortality, these minor irritations fade into insignificance, revealing what truly matters: our character, our relationships, and our impact on the world. This constant reminder of death serves as a powerful antidote to procrastination. We often tell ourselves, "I'll start living authentically tomorrow," or "I'll pursue my true passions later, when I have more time." But memento mori shatters this illusion of limitless time. It reminds us that we have no guarantee of tomorrow. This awareness creates a sense of urgency, not panic, but a gentle nudge to make the most of every moment. It encourages us to start living the life we want to live, right here, right now, rather than postponing it indefinitely. For the Stoics, the end of life was a natural part of the human experience, not something to be feared. Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance the books of life every day." This perspective allows us to view each day as a complete life in itself, with its own beginning and end. By living each day as if it were our last, we ensure that we are not living someone else's life, or a life dictated by fear or external expectations. This practice also frees us from the fear of loss. We are often reluctant to fully embrace things, our loved ones, our health, our possessions, because we fear the pain of losing them. By contemplating death, we can learn to appreciate these things more deeply, understanding that their impermanence is what makes them precious. We can love our friends and family more fiercely, knowing that our time with them is not guaranteed. This isn't about detaching ourselves, but about engaging with life's gifts with a profound sense of gratitude and a readiness to let go when the time comes. The practice of memento mori is also a great equalizer. It reminds us that no matter our social status, wealth, or power, death is the one certainty that awaits us all. The king and the beggar, the wise man and the fool, all share the same fate. This perspective can cultivate a deep sense of humility and justice. It encourages us to treat everyone with respect, knowing that beneath our temporary titles and possessions, we are all fellow travelers on the same short journey. Furthermore, contemplating death helps us to clarify our priorities. When we consider what we want to be remembered for, it's rarely for the things we bought or the status we achieved. Instead, it's for the character we demonstrated, our kindness, our courage, our integrity. This mental exercise forces us to align our daily actions with our long-term legacy. It encourages us to prioritize virtue over fleeting pleasures and to invest our energy in building a life of meaning and impact. The paradox of memento mori is that by facing the end, we learn to truly live. It teaches us to shed our anxieties about the future and our regrets about the past, and to be fully present in the now. The awareness of our finite time grounds us in the moment, allowing us to appreciate the simple beauty of everyday life: a sunrise, a conversation with a loved one, a quiet moment of reflection. This practice is not about being passive or fatalistic. It's about being actively engaged with life, but on our own terms. It's about being brave enough to live the life we truly believe in, free from the fear of failure or judgment, because we know that our time is too valuable to waste on anything less. It is a powerful reminder that the only thing we truly own is the present moment and what we choose to do with it. In conclusion, the Stoic principle of memento mori is an essential part of the path to authenticity. By using the thought of death as a guide, we can live more courageously, more virtuously, and with a greater sense of purpose. It strips away the non-essentials and illuminates the path to a life of profound meaning. It is the ultimate tool for living without regret, ensuring that our final days will be a reflection of a life well lived, and not a life merely endured. Premeditatio malorum, preparing for adversity. The Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils, is a powerful exercise in mental and emotional resilience. This is not a form of pessimism or a morbid anticipation of bad fortune. Instead, it is a proactive and rational strategy for preparing the mind to handle life's inevitable setbacks. By mentally rehearsing potential challenges, we diminish their power over us and ensure we are not caught off guard by the randomness of fate. This practice is about building psychological armor, not by hoping for the best, but by preparing for the worst. At its core, premeditatio malorum is a simple mental exercise. We consciously imagine what could go wrong in a given situation. This could be anything from a minor inconvenience, like a flight delay or a lost item, to a major catastrophe, such as a job loss, a serious illness, or the death of a loved one. By confronting these possibilities in the quiet of our own minds, we strip them of their power to shock and destabilize us. The emotional reaction is handled in advance, allowing for a more rational and calm response when the event actually occurs. The reason this practice is so effective is that it separates the event from our emotional reaction to it. When misfortune strikes unexpectedly, the shock and surprise are often more debilitating than the event itself. We are consumed by the feeling of this shouldn't be happening, which paralyzes our ability to think clearly and act effectively. By using premeditatio malorum, we remove the element of surprise. When something bad happens, our mind can calmly say, "Ah yes, this is what I prepared for." Now, what is the rational response? This exercise also serves to deepen our appreciation for the good things in our lives. By contemplating the loss of our health, our relationships, or our possessions, we are reminded of how precious and fragile they are. When we imagine a life without a loved one, we become more present and grateful for the time we have with them now. When we consider the possibility of losing our job, we are more motivated to put our best effort into our work today. It transforms our gratitude from a passive feeling into an active, conscious choice. A key element of premeditatio malorum is to go beyond simply acknowledging the possibility of a negative event. The Stoics encouraged us to visualize the situation in detail and to consider how we would respond with virtue. For example, if you imagine losing your job, you would think through how you would handle the news with dignity, what steps you would take to find a new one, and how you would resist the urge to feel resentment or despair. This mental rehearsal makes the virtuous path a habit, rather than an afterthought. This practice is an antidote to the modern inclination towards toxic positivity, which suggests that we should only focus on the good and ignore anything negative. The Stoics would argue that this approach leaves us incredibly fragile. By pretending that everything will always be fine, we are woefully unprepared for the reality of a world filled with both joy and sorrow. Premeditatio malorum is an honest, clear-eyed recognition of the human condition. It is a form of realistic optimism. We are optimistic about our ability to handle whatever comes our way, not about the world being free of challenges. Furthermore, this practice helps us to manage fear. Much of our fear is rooted in the unknown and the unexpected. By deliberately and systematically considering what could go wrong, we bring our fears into the light. We can then analyze them rationally and see which ones are worth preparing for and which are simply products of an overactive imagination. This process demystifies fear and replaces it with a calm, thoughtful preparedness. The Stoic philosopher Seneca, a great advocate of this practice, suggested that we should occasionally practice voluntary discomfort. This could involve going without a meal, sleeping on the floor, or wearing simple clothes. By voluntarily experiencing a version of hardship, we build confidence in our ability to endure genuine hardship when it arrives. This is the physical counterpart to premeditatio malorum, turning a mental exercise into a tangible, lived experience. The end goal of premeditatio malorum is not to make us cynical or unhappy, but to make us resilient and genuinely free. When we are no longer afraid of what might happen, we are free to live fully in the present. We can pursue our goals with courage, knowing that even if we fail, we have the inner resources to handle the consequences. We are no longer held hostage by the fear of loss, but are instead liberated to appreciate everything we have. In conclusion, premeditatio malorum is an essential and transformative Stoic practice for building an authentic life. It is the wisdom of preparing for the storms so that we can enjoy the calm. By confronting potential adversity in our minds, we build a foundation of courage and serenity that allows us to face the unpredictable nature of life with grace. It is a tool for turning fear into foresight and fragility into resilience, ensuring that our inner peace remains our own, regardless of what the future holds. Sympathia, interconnectedness. The Stoic concept of sympathia is a powerful and beautiful idea that stands in stark contrast to the modern emphasis on individualism. The term translates to sympathy or fellow feeling, but its meaning is much deeper. It is the profound awareness of our interconnectedness with all of humanity and the cosmos. For the Stoics, living an authentic life isn't a solitary journey of self-improvement, it is an active participation in a single, rational and harmonious whole. Our well-being is not a private matter, but is intrinsically tied to the well-being of the entire human community. This principle is rooted in the Stoic belief that the universe is governed by a rational order, or logos. They saw humanity as a single body, with each individual serving as a limb or an organ. Just as a hand cannot thrive in isolation from the rest of the body, a person cannot live a truly good life apart from a human community. To harm another person is to harm a part of ourselves. This understanding fundamentally shifts our perspective from me versus the world to we are all in this together. Sympathia serves as the foundation for the Stoic virtue of justice. If we truly recognize our connection to others, it becomes impossible to act unjustly. Cheating, lying, or being cruel to another person is not just a moral failing, it is a violation of the natural order and an act of self-harm. Justice, therefore, is not a burdensome duty but a natural and rational expression of our shared humanity. It is the practical application of our understanding that we are all members of one universal city. This practice of feeling and acting in unity with others also serves as a powerful antidote to self-pity and resentment. When we face personal misfortune, the contemplation of sympathia reminds us that our struggles are a part of a larger human experience. We are not alone in our suffering. This perspective can foster empathy and compassion, allowing us to see that everyone around us is fighting their own battles. It shifts our focus from why me to a more compassionate how can I help. The Stoics viewed the universe as a complex, interlocking system. Everything that happens, both good and bad, is part of this grand design. This perspective can be a source of immense comfort. When we suffer, it is not a random, meaningless event, but a part of the greater cosmic tapestry. Our ability to endure and overcome our challenges is not just for our own benefit, but also serves as an example for the larger human family. Our resilience adds to the strength and wisdom of the whole. Practicing sympathia means deliberately expanding our circle of concern. It starts with those closest to us, our family and friends, and extends outward to our community, our country, and ultimately to all of humanity. It means actively seeking opportunities to help others, to contribute to the common good, and to view the problems of strangers as our own. Marcus Aurelius beautifully captured this by writing, "What is bad for the hive is bad for the bee." Our individual flourishing is inseparable from the flourishing of the community. This understanding also protects us from the pitfalls of ego and arrogance. When we see ourselves as a small interconnected part of a vast universe, our sense of self-importance shrinks. We realize that our role is not to dominate or control, but to contribute and serve. This humility is a vital part of the authentic life. It prevents us from becoming self-obsessed and allows us to find purpose in something much larger than ourselves. The practice of sympathia is a daily discipline. It is about consciously choosing to view every interaction through the lens of shared humanity. When we encounter someone who is rude or difficult, instead of reacting with anger, we can remember that they too are a fellow human being, perhaps struggling with a burden we know nothing about. This perspective allows us to respond with patience and empathy, rather than with frustration. Living an authentic life, therefore, is a life of service. It is a life dedicated not to personal gain, but to the betterment of the human race. The Stoics would argue that the truest form of happiness comes from living a life that is useful to others. By contributing our unique skills and talents to the community, we fulfill our purpose as rational social beings. We are at our best when we are acting on behalf of the whole. In conclusion, sympathia is the beautiful realization that we are all connected. It is the antidote to isolation and the foundation for a truly ethical and meaningful life. By recognizing our place in the cosmic whole, we are motivated to act with justice, compassion, and a sense of shared purpose. The path to authenticity is not a lonely one. It is a journey we take with all of humanity, with every act of kindness and every moment of understanding strengthening the entire collective. The amor fati, love of fate. The Stoic principle of amor fati, or love of fate, is arguably the most radical and liberating idea in the entire philosophy. It goes far beyond mere acceptance of life circumstances. It is a profound and active embrace of everything that happens, both good and bad, as not just necessary, but as an essential part of our journey. This is not passive resignation or a defeatist attitude. It is a powerful practice of transforming our relationship with reality, allowing us to find purpose and meaning in every event, no matter how difficult. Most people spend their lives fighting against reality. They wish they were taller, richer, or smarter. They complain about the weather, their past, or their current setbacks. This constant friction between what is and what we wish it were is the source of immense unhappiness and wasted energy. Amor fati is the antidote to this friction. It is the conscious decision to stop fighting and to instead say, yes, this is my life. I will take it all, the triumphs and the tragedies, and love it equally. To love one's fate means recognizing that every experience, every challenge, and every person we meet is a necessary ingredient in the unique story of our lives. The struggles we face are not random punishments, but are the very things that forge our character. Without adversity, there would be no opportunity for courage. Without disappointment, there would be no chance to practice resilience. The Stoics understood that the obstacles we encounter are the very materials with which we build a strong, authentic self. This principle is a direct application of the Stoic belief in a rational and interconnected cosmos. They saw all events as part of a larger, beautiful, and logical whole. From this perspective, nothing is a mistake. The difficult moments are not bad in and of themselves, but are simply events that provide us with a chance to practice virtue. A bad traffic jam is not a tragedy, it is an opportunity to practice patience. A failure at work is not an end, it is a lesson in humility and a chance to try again with new wisdom. Practicing amor fati frees us from the tyranny of what if. We are no longer plagued by regrets about the past or anxieties about the future. Instead of dwelling on if only I had done this, we can say, this is what happened, and I will find a way to use it for my growth. This allows us to fully engage with our present reality, a reality that is perfectly designed to help us become the best version of ourselves. This is not a simple mindset shift. It requires a deep and sustained effort to reframe our perception of misfortune. When a painful event occurs, our initial emotional reaction will likely be one of sadness, anger, or despair. The practice of amor fati is the conscious act of moving past this initial reaction to a place of acceptance and ultimately love. It is about actively seeking the hidden opportunity or the lesson within every setback. The ultimate goal of this practice is to achieve a profound sense of inner peace. When we can look at our entire life, with all its twists, turns, and hardships, and embrace it as a perfect and beautiful whole, we become unstoppable. We are no longer afraid of what might happen because we are confident in our ability to handle it. We know that whatever life throws at us is exactly what we need to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. In a very practical sense, amor fati empowers us to take control of our narrative. When we are faced with a hardship, we have a choice. We can let it break us and define us as a victim, or we can embrace it, learn from it, and let it shape us into a hero of our own story. The principle encourages us to see ourselves not as a passive recipient of fate, but as an active participant who can transform any circumstance into a victory of character. The greatest examples of this principle come from the lives of the Stoics themselves, who faced exile, political turmoil, and personal tragedy with an unwavering spirit. They were able to endure because they didn't just accept their fate, they loved it. They understood that these hardships were not external obstacles, but internal tests designed to prove their virtue and strengthen their soul. They were living proof that our happiness is not found in a perfect life, but in a virtuous response to an imperfect one. In conclusion, amor fati is the courageous and joyous practice of embracing our lives in their entirety. It is the final and most powerful step on the Stoic path to authenticity. By loving our fate, we release ourselves from the shackles of regret and anxiety. We become the masters of our own narrative, turning every obstacle into a stepping stone and every moment into a chance to grow. It is the ultimate expression of freedom, a profound acceptance that allows us to find peace, purpose, and a deep, authentic love for the life we are living. Action and practice. The final and most crucial step on the Stoic path to authenticity is the understanding that philosophy is not a theory to be studied, but a practice to be lived. The Stoics believed that knowledge without action is worthless. Reading the works of Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius is only the beginning. The real work begins when we take these powerful ideas and apply them to our daily lives. Authenticity is not a state of being we discover, but a character we actively forge through consistent, purposeful action. This emphasis on practice is what distinguishes Stoicism from many other philosophical traditions. It is a philosophy for the blacksmith, not the scholar. It is a guide for how to show up in the world, how to deal with difficult people, how to respond to setbacks, and how to make ethical decisions under pressure. Our character is not defined by what we know in our minds, but by what we do with our hands, our words, and our intentions. Each moment of our day, from the small choice to be patient in traffic to the big decision to stand up for a principle, is an opportunity for practice. The Stoic life is a series of continuous, small efforts. It's about building a habit of virtue. Just as a musician practices scales to master an instrument, a Stoic practices patience, kindness, and courage to master themselves. We won't always succeed. We will falter, lose our temper, and make mistakes. But the Stoic path is not about perfection. It is about the unwavering commitment to get back up, reflect on our failure, and try again. Each attempt, no matter how small, strengthens our moral fiber. A key aspect of this practice is self-awareness. We must constantly monitor our thoughts and reactions. When a situation triggers a strong emotion, anger, jealousy, or fear, we must pause and ask ourselves, what is the judgment I am making here? Is this within my control? What would a virtuous person do? This is the moment where we can apply the lessons of the inner citadel and the dichotomy of control. This mental pause is the space where we can choose a rational, virtuous response over an impulsive, emotional one. This is also where we apply the concept of prohairesis, our faculty of moral choice. Every situation we face is an opportunity to exercise this choice. We are not just passive observers of our lives, we are the active agents. The practice involves seeing every moment as a test and a training ground. A rude person is not just a source of annoyance, they are a chance to practice patience. A missed opportunity is not just a loss, it is a chance to practice resilience and amor fati. The Stoic philosophers themselves were great examples of this. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, wrote his meditations not as a work of philosophy for public consumption, but as a personal journal to guide his daily practice. It was his way of reminding himself to apply the principles he believed in to the extraordinary pressures of his life. His life was a constant exercise in aligning his actions with his values, proving that even a person with immense power is subject to the same internal struggles as everyone else. The importance of action over words cannot be overstated. We can read all the books on courage, but until we act with courage in a difficult situation, we don't truly possess the virtue. We can talk about justice, but it is only in our fair and honest dealings with others that we become just. Stoicism, therefore, is a performance art, with our life as the stage and our actions as the performance. The audience that truly matters is our own conscience. This active engagement also protects us from the danger of being armchair philosophers. It's easy to pontificate on abstract ideas from a place of comfort and security. But the true test of our character is how we behave when things get tough. The Stoic path demands that we get our hands dirty, that we step into the arena of life and live our values even when it is inconvenient, uncomfortable, or dangerous. Authenticity, in this context, is the consistent alignment of our beliefs and our behavior. It is the bridge between our inner world of principles and our outer world of actions. A truly authentic person is one whose words and deeds are in perfect harmony. They are not one person in public and another in private. Their character is a seamless whole, forged through thousands of small conscious choices. In conclusion, the Stoic path is a journey of continuous practice. It teaches us that authenticity is not a static identity but a dynamic process of becoming. It is about the daily, disciplined effort to live in accordance with our values, turning every moment into a chance for growth. By focusing on action and practice, we transform philosophical ideas into a way of life, ensuring that our authenticity is not just a concept we understand, but a reality we embody. Conclusion. The Stoic path to authenticity is not a quick fix or a self-help trend. It is a profound, lifelong commitment to living a life of purpose, integrity, and resilience. As we've explored the core principles, from building the inner citadel to embracing amor fati, it becomes clear that this philosophy offers a powerful and comprehensive guide for navigating the human experience. It is a journey that teaches us to find our strength not by changing the world around us, but by mastering the world within us. At its heart, Stoicism provides a clear and empowering answer to the fundamental question of how to live a good life. It teaches us that true freedom and happiness are not external goals to be chased, but are a direct result of our own character. By consistently applying the dichotomy of control, we liberate ourselves from the immense anxiety of trying to manage the uncontrollable. We learn to focus our energy on what truly matters, our own thoughts, judgments, and actions. This single principle is a powerful anchor in a chaotic and unpredictable world. The pursuit of virtue stands as the ultimate compass on this journey. By dedicating ourselves to the cultivation of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, we build a character that is impervious to the whims of fortune. Unlike wealth, reputation, or power, our virtue is an internal possession that no one can take away. This realization provides an unshakable foundation for our self-worth, allowing us to find contentment and dignity regardless of our external circumstances. The Stoic practices of memento mori and premeditatio malorum are not about dwelling on the negative, but about a realistic preparation for life's inevitable challenges. By confronting our mortality and anticipating adversity, we paradoxically become more alive and more resilient. This foresight transforms potential crises into opportunities for growth and deepens our appreciation for the present moment. We learn to live with a sense of urgency, not out of panic, but out of a profound understanding of life's preciousness. Sympathia, the awareness of our interconnectedness, reminds us that authenticity is not a solitary pursuit. We are part of a larger global community, and our well-being is intrinsically linked to the well-being of others. This principle calls us to a life of compassion, justice, and service, ensuring that our personal growth contributes to the flourishing of humanity as a whole. It is a powerful antidote to the isolation and self-absorption that can plague modern life. Perhaps the most liberating aspect of the Stoic path is the principle of amor fati. This is the courageous and joyous practice of embracing our entire life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as a perfect and necessary whole. By loving our fate, we stop fighting against reality and begin to see every obstacle as a chance to grow stronger. This perspective transforms suffering into purpose, allowing us to find meaning in every experience and to write a heroic narrative for our own lives. Ultimately, the Stoic path is a call to action and practice. It is not enough to simply read and understand these ideas. We must apply them. Authenticity is not a label we are given. It is a quality we earn through a relentless commitment to aligning our beliefs with our behaviors. Every decision we make is a chance to practice virtue, to strengthen our resolve, and to build a character that we can be proud of. It is in the doing that we truly become. The journey is not without its challenges. We will face moments of weakness, self-doubt, and external pressure to abandon our principles. But the Stoic framework provides us with the tools to navigate these struggles. It teaches us that our worth is not measured by perfection, but by our continuous effort to get back up, learn from our mistakes, and continue on the path of virtue. Living an authentic Stoic life means living with an internal compass that is unswayed by external approval or disapproval. Our peace of mind is no longer dependent on the opinions of others or the whims of fortune. Instead, it is a direct result of our own integrity, our self-mastery, and our unwavering commitment to our values. This is the profound freedom that Stoicism offers. In conclusion, the Stoic path to authenticity is a timeless, practical, and deeply fulfilling way of life. It provides us with the clarity to understand ourselves, the courage to face adversity, and the wisdom to live with purpose. By embracing these ancient principles, we don't just find out who we are, we actively create a life that is truly our own, a life of resilience, integrity, and genuine happiness. It is a path that leads us not to an easy existence, but to a life that is authentically and meaningfully lived.